Once upon a time, in the village of Yuba, lived a woman named Oluchi. Her life had once been filled with light and hope. As a young girl, she was known for her laughter, grace, and the warmth she brought wherever she went. She married Emma, a hard-working and kind-hearted trader, and together they built a peaceful life, dreaming of a future filled with love and happiness. But Oluchi's world was about to be torn apart by a bitter curse, one that would change her life and the life of her unborn child forever. Oluchi had 3 close friends, Amaka, Ephema, and Chika. They had grown up together, sharing secrets and dreams under the Udala tree. But among them, Amaka was different. She craved beauty, power, and admiration, unlike the others who found joy in simple things. Ephema, always observant, once warned Oluchi, "She envies you." Oluchi only smiled. "Amaka is my sister," she said. "She would never wish me harm." Chika, ever gentle, added, "She loves you, but sometimes love and jealousy walk hand in hand." But Oluchi, trusting and kind, never believed it. One evening, under the glow of the full moon, Amaka's jealousy finally consumed her. She stormed into Oluchi's home, her eyes burning with resentment. "You have everything, Oluchi," she hissed, her voice trembling. "The love of a good man, a beautiful home, a future of endless possibilities. Why do you deserve all of this while I remain unseen?" Oluchi's heart twisted. She had never asked for such comparisons. "I never took anything from you, Amaka," she said. "Life is full of mysteries, and we must cherish what we have." Blinded by jealousy, Amaka sought out the feared witch Azini, demanding a curse upon Oluchi's unborn child. Azini warned that all curses come with a price, but Amaka, consumed by spite, did not care. The witch cast her spell, sealing Amora's fate, marked by horns and destined for rejection. As Amaka left, the witch's chilling words lingered in the air, "No curse is ever one-sided." Months passed, and Oluchi found herself with child. The entire village rejoiced, for she and Emma had long wished for a baby. Her friends celebrated with her, bringing gifts of beads and soft fabrics. Even Amaka, masking her guilt behind a forced smile, offered a carved wooden rattle. But as the moon waxed and waned, Oluchi was plagued by nightmares. She dreamt of dark waters, twisted horns, and eyes staring at her from the shadows. She often woke up trembling, clutching her stomach. Months later, Oluchi gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Amarachi. She was perfect in every way, her skin as smooth as fresh palm oil, her eyes as bright as morning dew. She had a laugh that carried through the hut like the melody of a songbird. From the moment she arrived, she was a child of joy, a child of light. But at dusk, the light faded. It started subtly, tiny bumps on her forehead that seemed harmless at first. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the bumps stretched, coiling like the horns of a ram. By nightfall, they stood tall, dark, and unmistakable. Oluchi gasped the first time she saw them. "Emma," she whispered, clutching her husband's arm, "what is happening to our child?" Emma, usually a man of unwavering strength, stood frozen. His breath came out in sharp, uneven bursts. "The gods," he murmured, "have they cursed us?" The couple held each other, staring at their daughter in horrified silence. But Amarachi only cooed, her tiny hands reaching up as if the strange growths meant nothing at all. From that night on, they hid her. Years passed. During the day, Amarachi was like any other child in the village. She ran through the fields, laughed with her friends, and asked endless questions about the world. But as evening crept closer, she knew what she had to do. "Amora, come inside," Oluchi would call, a slight tremble in her voice. Amora never argued. She never asked why. She only knew that after sunset, she must never let anyone see her. As Amora grew older, her beauty became even more striking. Her skin glowed like the soft light of dawn, and her eyes held the quiet mystery of the evening sky. She was graceful, kind, and full of life. But beneath her radiance, A secret weighed heavy on her soul. Among those who admired her was Ikena, a young man with a warm spirit and an easy smile. He had known Amora since childhood, and as the years passed, his fondness for her deepened into something undeniable. She was different, yes, always slipping away before nightfall, but he never questioned it. He loved her for who she was, believing she held no secrets from him. They spent their days exploring the village, racing through the fields, and sharing laughter beneath the shade of the great baobab tree. But when the sun began its descent, Amora would always place a hand on his arm, a soft, sad look in her eyes. "I have to go," she would whisper. Ikena would sigh but never press her. "All right, Amora. Tomorrow, then." Each night, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the village came alive with the warmth of flickering oil lamps and the hum of laughter, Amora sat alone in the dim confines of her room. The walls felt tighter at night, the air heavier. She sat curled against the corner, knees pulled to her chest, her hands gripping the cloth she used to wrap her horns whenever she moved around her home. The moment darkness fell, she would press her fingers against them, feeling their rough, curling shape, hating the way they betrayed her. Tears burned at the edges of her eyes, hot and bitter. She longed to be outside, to be under the stars, walking side by side with Ikena as they whispered stories to each other like the other young lovers in the village. But instead, she sat in hiding, swallowed by shadows and shame. Her breath hitched, and a sob escaped her lips. She clamped her hands over her mouth, afraid her parents would hear. But they always did. Soft footsteps padded against the floor, and then there was a gentle knock. Amora, her mother's voice, quiet and full of worry, called, "My child, may I come in?" Amora wiped her tears quickly, but there was no point. Her mother would see through her, just as she always did. "Come in," she whispered. The door creaked open, and Oluchi stepped inside, her eyes soft with sorrow. She sat beside Amora, wrapping an arm around her, rocking her gently. "My beautiful girl," she murmured, stroking Amora's hair. "You cannot cry yourself into something you are not." "I just want to be normal, Mama," Amora choked out. "I want to laugh outside at night. I want to dance at the moon festivals. I want to be with Ikena when the fireflies come out. But I can't. I have to run and hide like I'm cursed." At that moment, Emma appeared in the doorway, his strong frame filling the room, his face lined with pain. He knelt beside them and took his daughter's trembling hands in his own. "You are not cursed, Amora," he said firmly. "You were never cursed. The world is simply too small for the greatness that was placed upon you." Amora shook her head, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "Then why do I feel like a prisoner? Why must I keep running?" Oluchi cupped her face. "Because the world fears what it does not understand." Amora closed her eyes, the weight of her mother's words pressing against her heart. She wanted to believe them. She wanted to believe that one day she wouldn't have to hide, that one day she could step into the night and not feel ashamed of what she was. But that day still felt so far away. And so, she sobbed quietly in her mother's arms, her father's firm grip on her hands grounding her. They could not take away her pain, nor could they undo what had been done, but they could hold her through it. And for now, that was all they could do. The afternoon sun hung lazily in the sky, casting golden light over the vast stretch of farmland. Amora and Ikena walked side by side, their bare feet sinking into the warm earth, the scent of ripe mangoes filling the air. They had spent the day together, like always, laughing, teasing, and sharing quiet moments that needed no words. Ikena picked up a small stone and tossed it ahead. "One day, I'll have my own farm," he said with a grin. "A big one. And I'll grow the best palms anyone has ever seen." Amora chuckled, nudging him playfully. "Oh, and will you actually do the work, or will you just stand around boasting about it?" Ikena placed a hand over his heart in mock offense. "Amora, you wound me. I will work hard, just as soon as I find someone to remind me not to be lazy." She rolled her eyes, but her smile lingered. "Well, good luck with that." They reached the great baobab tree, their usual resting place. Amora settled on the cool grass beneath its shade, leaning back against the sturdy trunk. Ikenna sat beside her, stretching out his legs, watching the way the wind played with the loose strands of her hair. For a while, they just sat there, listening to the rustling leaves and the distant chatter of the village. Then, as the sun began its slow descent, Amora shifted. "I should go," she said softly. Ikenna sighed, tilting his head toward her. "So soon? The stars aren't even out yet." She hesitated, biting her lip, before standing. "Tomorrow," she promised, offering him a small smile. "I'll see you tomorrow." Before he could protest, she turned and walked away, her movements hurried, her form growing smaller as she disappeared down the winding path home. Ikenna watched her go, something about the way she left tugging at his chest. She always left before nightfall, always in a rush, always without looking back. Tonight, for the first time, curiosity burned stronger than reason. So he rose to his feet, and he followed her. He kept to the shadows, heart pounding with guilt for spying on the girl he loved. He bent by her window, peeping through the opening just as the last light of the sun faded from the sky. What he saw made his breath hitch. Her horns, long and curling, rose from her forehead, twisting like the sacred ram of the village shrine. His chest tightened, disbelief pressing down on him like a weight. His mind screamed for an explanation, but no words came. A sound escaped his lips, a sharp intake of breath. Amora turned. Their eyes met. Terror and heartbreak flashed across her face as she realized what had happened. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "No, no, no." Tears welled in her eyes as she ran to her mother, who was sitting in the room, and collapsed into her arms. "He saw me, Mama," her voice trembled with grief. "Ikenna saw my horns. He's afraid of me, I know it." Oluchi's arms wrapped tightly around her daughter, rocking her as she sobbed. "Sure, my child," she murmured, pressing trembling lips to Amora's forehead. "We knew this day would come." Emma stood by the doorway, fists clenched, his voice steady but heavy with sorrow filling the hut. "We can't stay here any longer." Oluchi looked up at him, pain clouding her eyes. "Emma." He shook his head. "You know I speak the truth. The village will never understand. If he tells anyone." He trailed off, unwilling to speak the worst of his fears. Amora gasped, fresh panic gripping her chest. "He wouldn't." "We cannot take that risk," Emma said firmly. So that very night, they packed what little they could carry and vanished into the darkness, leaving behind the only home they had ever known. They settled deep within the forest near the river, where no judging eyes could find them. Amora spent her days in solitude, her heart heavy with loss. She longed for Ikenna, for the sound of his laughter, the warmth of his presence. But she knew he would never come. How could he? He had seen what she truly was. But Ikenna never forgot her. He searched every village and questioned every traveler, desperate for any trace of her. Months passed, but his love never wavered. While fishing by the river, Ikenna spotted a lone figure at the water's edge. Amora. Her shoulders shook as silent tears fell into the river. Without thinking, he ran to her. Hearing his voice, Amora turned, fear flickering in her eyes. Would he run away again? But in Ikenna's gaze, there was no fear, only love. "I looked everywhere for you," he whispered. Tears streamed down her face. "Because you saw me. You saw what I am." Ikenna took her trembling hands. "I saw you, and I see you now. You are still the girl I love." Amora collapsed into his arms, no longer hiding. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe she could be truly loved. Then, a warmth spread through her chest. A soft glow surrounded her, something deep and unseen shifting within. Her horns, her curse, began to shrink, dissolving into nothing. The wind carried whispers of something ancient and powerful. Amora touched her forehead. It was smooth. Tears welled in her eyes. "It's gone. The curse is gone." Ikenna pressed his forehead to hers, smiling. Love is stronger than any curse. Then, a sharp cry echoed through the trees. From the shadows emerged a trembling figure, Amaka, the woman who had cursed Amora before she was born. Rage twisted her face. No, this is impossible. The curse was meant to last forever. Amora, standing tall, met her gaze without fear. Why? What had I done to you? Amaka's voice cracked with bitterness. Your mother took what was mine. The man who was supposed to love me chose Oluchi instead. So I took her happiness in return. Ikenna stepped forward. But love has undone your wickedness. The gods have spoken. As if in answer, the wind howled, and the ground shook. A deep, ancient voice echoed, for cursing an innocent child out of spite, you shall bear the mark you placed upon her. You will live in exile, with horns upon your head, until the end of your days. A scream tore from Amaka's throat as horns sprouted from her forehead. She clawed at them, but they remained. The wind carried her wails into the depths of the forest, where she would wander, cursed and alone, just as she had tried to doom Amora. Silence settled over the riverbank. Amora turned to Ikenna, tears shining in her eyes. I never thought I would be free. He smiled, wiping a tear from her cheek. You were always free, Amora. You just didn't know it. And love had won. Ikenna, Amora, and her parents returned to the village, not as outcasts but as victors. The villagers gasped, stunned to see them again. Emma revealed the truth. Love had shattered the darkness that once bound his daughter. Doubt lingered until Amora stepped into the fading sunlight. As twilight fell, no horns appeared, only a young woman, whole and unbroken. Realization swept through the crowd. Joy replaced fear. Chief Akafa declared a feast in her honor, and as drums echoed into the night, Amora knew she was finally home. As the night deepened and the villagers' laughter filled the air, Amora felt a gentle tug on her wrist. She turned to see Ikenna standing behind her, his eyes warm and full of something unspoken. Come with me, he whispered. He led her away from the firelight to a quiet spot beneath the baobab tree. The moon cast a soft glow over them, and for a moment, they stood there, gazing at each other. Ikenna reached out, brushing a stray curl from her face. You're beautiful, he murmured. With or without the curse, you've always been the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Amora felt her heart swell. She placed her hand over his. And you, Ikenna, you were my light when I thought I'd never find my way. A slow smile spread across his lips. Then let me be your light forever. He took her hand and pressed a gentle kiss to her knuckles. Amora smiled, leaning into him, knowing that for the first time in her life, she was exactly where she was meant to be. Please like, comment and share this video if you enjoyed the story. Also subscribe to African Folktale Cinema for more amazing stories such as this. Don't forget to subscribe and comment the lessons you learnt and your contributions, and I will reply them all. See you next time, and bye.